Hey, can you see? Cause I'm back and my name is Nick. I'm gonna talk about cool and now it's lit. You may have seen our 2700X. We had a special water cooler no one else has yet, the MasterLiquid ML240R RGB. We're gonna talk about its flow in every degree. So subscribe right now if you're new around here. I don't usually rap, so I'm sorry about your ears. Right, anyways, now that I've got your attention, let's be serious and talk about Cooler Master's brand new flagship AIO water cooler, the MasterLiquid ML240R RGB. We've had so many messages and comments about this cooler, so in this video, we're gonna talk about what makes it special and when you can get your hands on this awesome new cooler. This video is proudly brought to you by Cooler Master and the Mastercase H500P mesh in white, featuring two absolutely giant 200mm front fans for maximum airflow and a tempered glass side panel so you can see all of your things. Find out more in the link in the description. Okay, so I'm not going to go into installing this because we have a separate video that's coming that will show you how to actually install this on an AM4 socket. But if you're interested to know how to install this on an Intel socket, there's a video in the top right hand corner right now, and that will show you how to install the ML240L RGB, which is identical to installing this cooler. So what makes it different? Well, quite a few things. First off, let's talk about the coolest new feature, the Addressable Rgb. Yeah, I know some of you guys aren't into RGB lighting and some people love it and some people hate it, but PC building is all about customization, and RGB gives you that ability to customize your system in your own way, and the ML240R is no exception. It has fully addressable RGB on both the pump and on the two included fans with brand new wired addressable RGB controller. We'll come back to that. First, let's talk about those fans. Cooler Master has designed some brand new addressable RGB fans that are designed for increased static pressure, the Master Fan 120R. The idea behind them was to increase the airflow and keep the noise down, and I think that they've actually done a really good job at this. Even at full speed, they just aren't that loud. Personally, that speaks to me because I cannot stand loud PCs. That's kind of why I got into water cooling and AIOs in the first place. They are typically pretty quiet and these new fans are no exception. I'm a fan. Okay, back to the ML240R. There are actually heaps of new features other than the RGB stuff, but I want to focus on one of the most important changes with this new design, the dual chamber design. What does that even mean? Well, to put it simply, it increases the lifespan of the pump and it makes it more resistant to many fluctuations in temperature. If you have more questions, feel free to join our Discord community and we can chat about it more there. There's a link in the description. Also, if you want to comment and ask any questions, we're happy to answer them as well. Okay, let's rewind and address that new RGB cooler. See what I did there? Cooler Master has designed a brand new RGB controller to replace their current RGB controller, but it's not any run-of-the-mill RGB controller. It has some very clever tech behind it. It's got 4 independent connections for temperature sensors, which is very unique for something like this. It's also got USB to connect it to your motherboard for software control, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's got analog RGB headers for your legacy RGB stuff as well, SATA power, and obviously 4 addressable RGB headers. Now, here's one thing I like about this system compared to others. Firstly, the connectors are not proprietary. If you have any other RGB gear that uses a standard 4-pin RGB connector, you can use it with no issues. Secondly, even the addressable RGB connector is the standard 3-pin addressable header type that you'll find on most motherboards and for most addressable RGB components. What about the software? Well, right now, at the time of recording this, it's not out. I've spoken to Cooler Master about the release date for the software and they have told me that it should be out on the 27th of April 2018. Obviously I have it, but I can't show it yet. We have a full overview video coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on. Right, now we've got all the flashy things out of the way, let's talk about thermals. Before I talk about this, there is a bit of a caveat. we've only had time to test it with one CPU, so your mileage will most likely vary. The CPU we tested it on is the brand new AMD Ryzen 7 2700X. The 2700X runs quite warm with the stock cooler, so what difference does the ML240R make? Well, let's find out. Before we begin, the temperatures recorded were from the die temperature with hardware info, which actually reports the correct temperature, not the weird offset temperature that most software packages will actually report. Also, we set the fans to 100% on both coolers and set the pump to 100% on the ML240R to even the playing field between both coolers. Finally, the RAM was clocked to 3200 megahertz, which usually increases the overall temperatures as well. With the stock Wraith Prism cooler, the CPU at around 20 minutes of idle, we saw average temperatures of around about 40 degrees. After 20 minutes of stress testing in IDA 64, we saw an average temperature of around 83 degrees. That's pretty warm. So how does the ML240R compare? Well, at 20 minutes of idle, we saw an average temp of around 33 degrees, and after 20 minutes of stress testing in IDA 64, we saw an average recorded temperature of around 62 degrees. That's 21 degrees difference. What? That's crazy. Okay, so when can you get your hands on one of these coolers? Well, the worldwide launch is April 22nd, 2018, which is tomorrow if you're watching it right now, or if you're watching from the future, it's out now. Like I mentioned earlier as well, the software should be available for download from Cooler Master's site on the 27th of April, 2018. It comes with a 2-year warranty and the Australian recommended retail price of 139 Australian dollars, or around about 110 US dollars, which to be honest, and when compared to offerings from other brands, is pretty competitive. And based on what you get for your hard-earned money, it's definitely worth every single cent. If you're interested in purchasing this cooler, there's a link in the description down below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you didn't like this video, you know what to do, and tell us what you didn't like about it. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment down below or join our Discord community. There's a link to that in the description as well. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm Nick with Gear Seekers. You pick, we seek. And I promise I won't rap again for a while. Peace. I just had to do that at the end again. Sorry guys.